Struggling to make your characters or shapes move smoothly in Moho, you are not alone. Working with bones can be tricky, especially when you don't know all the ways they can be used. I've been there. My first attempts at using Moho's bone tools were frustrating until I unlocked their full potential. In this tutorial, we will explore how to use Moho's bone tools effectively to solve these challenges. To access the bone tools, we need to create a bone layer in Moho. So on the top, we can click over here and this is the bone layer option. And we can see that it has an icon which has the shape of a bone. So I've created this goblin and it's connected to the bone layer. And we can see that these are all the different body parts in separate layers for the goblin. If I click on the layer, on the vector layer, like the mouth layer over here, the option for the bone layers are not visible. So to access the bone tool options, we need to click on the bone layer, which is the one on the top. Now we can see all the options for the bone layer. The first one is select bone. To select the bone, we just click on the bone and it will get highlighted like this. The bone which we select will have a red outline on it. And the name of the bone will show on the top over here. So right now I have selected the stomach bone and it has an by default it has a name of B2 and we can change the name over here. So now when I select it, it shows the name on the top. And if we want to see the name over here, then we click on show label and now the name will show next to the bone over here. If I zoom in, you should be able to see it. So this is the name of the bone. Next is color. So by default, all the bones have a plain color. So in case I want to change the color of the bone, I'll just select the bone and over here I can change it. And now we can see that it has the yellow color for the bone. After this we have shy bone. Okay, so shy bone is used in case we need to hide the bones. So if I want to hide all these bones, I'll just select these bones and click on shy bone. So the bones will still work, they will just not be visible on the screen. And if I want to see the bones again, click on bone. Now all the bones are visible. After this we have lasso mode. So by default, if I want to select the bone, I can click on it or I can just drag the mouse cursor. It creates this box and I can select the bones like this. The other option is I can enable lasso mode and I can just select the bones like this. The second option is add bone. With this we can add bones. So let me select this bone layer, the one which I just created. Like this we can create the bone. If I want to add another bone, we can do this. This is the manipulate bone option. I can move the bones. So if I move the top child bone, it will move the other bones also. And if I move the main parent bone, it will move all the bones together. This is the radius of influence of the bones. or the strength of the bones. So their influence will be maximum within this radius, and outside the radius, their influence will be less. Next, we have transform bone. So with transform bone, we can rotate the bone or increase its size or decrease its size or move the bone. And if we want to remove the bones which we have created, we just select all the bones and press the delete key, and now the bones are gone. To explain the lock bone option, we will use this character. We have to be in the timeline for the lock bone option to work. So I'll just go to frame 24 and then I'll select the transform bone. And now if I move it, we can see that the whole character is rotating. Now let me go back to frame 0. I'll select this bone over here and enable lock bone. Now I'll go back to frame 24, select transform tool, select this bone again and rotate it. And now we can see that the bone is locked, it's not moving. Now let me go back to frame 0, select this bone, lock it. So now I've locked the bones for both the feet. Now if I go back to frame 24, now if I rotate, we can see that the character is moving, but the feet are locked because we enabled lock bone. The next option is flip bone over here. If we look at the hand over here, the bone on the hand, I'll select this and click on flip and flip, and we can see that it has moved the hand down. So if I select side flip, the bone has flipped, and this is how the side flip works. So we can make a small animation out of this. So this is how lock bone and flip bone option works. Okay, so this is a basic rectangle which I have created, and now I will add bones to it. So this is the add bone option. I'll select it. And over here we can see in the layers option, I have created a bone layer. This layer is attached to the bone layer. This is the first bone. So these are the three bones. This is the parent bone and these are the child bones. All of them are connected. Now I'll select the child bone, use the manipulate bone option, and if I do this, we can see that it's moving the shape. The shape is not bending. Even if I use the second child bone, the shape does not bend. I've selected the vector layer, and this shape has only 4 points. So for the bones to manipulate the shape, it needs enough points. So this is the second shape, and I've already added the bones to it. Let me select the bone on the top. I'll move it. And we can see that this shape is able to bend in a better manner compared to the first shape. If I click on the rectangle layer, we can see that it has more points compared to the first shape. So we have to balance between having too few points and having too many points. This is an image which I'm using, and I've connected it to a bone layer. So let me select the child bone on the top. I'll use the manipulate bone option, and we can see that we are able to manipulate it also. I will go into detail into how to use bones on images or bitmap. We will do that later. Okay, so these are three bones which I have created. This is the parent bone, and these are the child bones. The green and the yellow is the child bone. And this is the layer. This is the vector layer, and on this layer I have created three shapes. So let me go to the bone layer. I have selected manipulate bone option. I'll select this child bone and move it. So we can see that when I move the child bone, it moves the green shape, and it moves the white shape and the yellow shape also a little bit. Same is the case with this bone, the yellow bone. If I move this bone, so the maximum influence is on the shape which is above it, and there's little influence on these two shapes. And this is the parent bone. If I move it, it will move everything. It moves the child bones and it moves all the shapes. To check the relation, we can just click on this reparent bone option. It shows the arrows. The arrows are coming to this bone in the middle, which show that this is the parent bone. So this kind of bone method is called flexible binding. If I select the bone and go to layer settings, we have tabs over here. This is the bone tab. By default, whenever we create a bone in Moho, it is set up for flexible binding, which means that the bone will affect the object or the shape next to it, and it will affect the other shapes also. Now let me change this to region binding. Now if I select this child bone and move it, we see that it is only affecting the immediate shape next to it. Since region binding is enabled, it only affects the shapes near its region or next to its region. And if I select this shape, it's only affecting this shape. In this shape, if I select the bone and move it, we can see that it is working. So in this video, we learned about flexible binding and region binding, how to add a bone, lock bone and flip bone option, and the basic options like bone parenting and transform bone.